Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Skookum Session Bigfoot Podcast Q&A. Tonight, we've got a great topic for you, but first, let me introduce our co-hosts. We got my brothers from other mothers. First, we've got Mr. Nick Valente. Nick, how's it going, bro?
Doing great tonight. Doing great, Jay.
Good. Glad to hear it. And we've got the living legend himself, Mr. Gary Spikes.
I don't know
Gary, what's up, brother?
I don't know about living, but I am a legend. So yeah.
You are
all right. The zombie legend. Okay, the zombie.
There we go.
It's good to be on anytime, man. I'm we all look forward to these because we always have good subject matters and good people talking. Looks like we might have lost our other one. Where'd he go?
No, he's right there.
He's still here. He's in the black mask.
Oh,
he's in the dark in a black mask. Yes,
that's right. Last but not least, Mr. Chance Honeycutt. Chance, how's it hanging?
Hey, I can't complain for a Wednesday, fellas. Not at all.
Good. So, guys, we had a question tonight from one of our viewers about all the phenomenon that goes along with Bigfoot sightings, Dogman sightings, such as lights in the sky, people capturing photos with other entities in them, as well as the Sasquatch and the Dogman. Lights in the sky. Like I said, me and Nick had a viewer a couple weeks ago that he had a close encounter with a rake, and a Bigfoot came out and kind of saved him. Remember that, Nick?
That's right.
Really?
Yeah, he was lucky.
Yeah.
I want to hear that one.
He came out. He was investigating a certain area, and this thing came crawling out like a spider, white, pale, big black eyes,
translucent. Yep.
Translucent, hissed at him and everything. All of a sudden, the alpha male Sasquatch of the group he works with came out and let out a beller, if I'm not mistaken, right, Nick?
Yeah, he let out a howl.
Beller and scared him away.
Wow. Did y'all do that on a show?
Yeah.
Send me the link to that. I want to.
What was it, number 17 or 18?
18. It's with Long Island Mike Valentino. He wouldn't any mention his name.
That's nuts.
So, yeah, it was an awesome show.
Yeah,
but
I'll listen to that one.
Yeah, it's good. So basically, this gentleman wanted to know, do we think all these different types of phenomenon with these sightings are all connected?
All right, well, you know what? I hate to break in here, but let's first talk about real science.
Yeah.
Real science, first of all, says that there are 11 different dimensions out there.
Correct.
Now, physicists have proven this, and so there's real science for you. Now, another scientific fact: we can only see 10% of the light spectrum. Right behind me right now, I could have strange beings who are out of the light spectrum, and they're hanging out listening to the show right now. It's very possible. So there's two scientific thoughts right there that we got to think about when we think about other beings being seen, and Sasquatch, being there 1 minute and the next minute's translucent, and then the next second he's gone right in the middle of a field. So what I'm trying to get at is these other beings most likely are from another dimension. At least that's from with all the research and the reading I've done up and speaking to people. Number one. Number two, I'm thinking that they're generating some sort of a power, some sort of a field, a vibration. Might as well say it's a vibration. They're vibrating at a different speed than we are. It's the same thing as, granite, the stone granite, that right there vibrates at a different speed. Let me give you a good example of something. A glass window, when you're driving your car, the driver's side window is made out of glass. Now, if you get a spark plug and you take the ceramic off that spark plug and flick it, and I'm doing this luckily they can see me. You flick it at that window. Do you realize you don't even have to whip it? You just flick it at the window. That window is going to break. It's just going to go to pieces.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the vibration level of that ceramic is different than what the glass is. So it's not so hard to understand that Dogman and Sasquatch are possibly vibrating at a different intensity, and they just
Yeah.
allow us to see, to see them sometimes. Or maybe they just slow down a little bit when they're, running around going after a deer or a rabbit or a wild boar or something, for food while they're
Right.
here. And most likely, I'm thinking, and this is just not just me. I mean, this is my background plus all the reading I've done and speaking to people over the decades, is that they're probably going to other dimensions through a portal, and they need to be able to vibrate to that level in order to go through that portal. What do you think, Gare? Chance? Jay?
I'm in agreement with you on that, Nick. I think you're definitely at a higher frequency than you are, or you and I and Gary and Chance and everyone else out there are. I truly think these, I started back in the 8 camp, a long time ago. The more I investigated, the more I researched, the weirder the things started to happen, and the more contact I had with these creatures, the weirder things started to happen, like the orbs, other types of activity, paranormal activity around the house, where we have these things located. I think all interconnected. The lights in the sky. I mean, how many? What's the percentage, Nick? 92%.
No. Since I've been talking to you, and we've had other guests come on, and I've been on other shows, and people have reported this. It's now up almost at 94% of the people that have had a Sasquatch or a Dogman encounter. They've seen an orb in the sky before, after, or before and after the encounter or sighting. I'm saying encounter or sighting. I mean, sightings are fleeting. Encounters are, there for a little bit of time. So 94% of those people have seen something up there, at least in the amount of people that I had polled.
Right. Chance, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think Nick brings up quite a few good points with vibrating on different frequencies, and I think those are all excellent points. It's used to say, they're not, vibrating on some type of different frequencies, and that's how they're able to move so fast. My train of thought too is, I think, we kind of spoke about this for the other show as well. I think a lot of it kind of depends on location as well. I think there's going to be certain locations that are going to have more activity, kind of on both ends. I know my primary research area that I go to, it's an ideal location for all three, Bigfoot, Dogman, paranormal. So I mean, it's kind of that trifecta area for all three of those locations, and it's just like it's a perfect area, perfect location, and then you kind of take into account, the vibrations, the frequencies. It all lines up, all right there, boom, 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 to hit everything. But I think the vibrations and the frequencies, an excellent point as well, that definitely deserves its own consideration and own thought on its own as well.
Right. I mean, you've had in your vicinity, you've done many paranormal investigations as well, Sasquatch investigations, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and both very active.
Extremely active.
Which brings up a good example of what we're talking about right here. So yeah, I agree with both of you on that. The frequency stuff, and I truly believe these creatures are interdimensional. I believe while they're here, You know, they got to abide by our rules, but they have their abilities. And like you had a chance at the location as well. The areas I investigate, you know, there's a lot of paranormal activity that goes on as well. You know, a lot of the War of 1812 was fought up here, and in that area, in this area down the road, I'm not going to say the name of the town, but the area down the road, there's been lots of sites of ghosts of British redcoats, so on and so forth, as well as Sasquatch and Dogman activity. And I've had people report the stuff at the same time. So there's got to be a correlation, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Gary, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I got a million thoughts running through my head, but you know, very well spoken analytical points come across. You know, a lot of crossover with Dogman, Sasquatch, and the supernatural. With me being a paranormal researcher, and you know you do see a lot of that crossover. Me in my personal life, the times that I have, except for one time, I have personally, when I had Sasquatch around, I had never seen orbs or the supernatural side. But even if you look at it this way, if these things are, which I truly believe are a sentient being and a more advanced, how would we say, mental capacity, they'd be drawn to the same thing.
Yes.
The only time that I've had lights in the sky and orbs and stuff around is when I was in the general vicinity of Nick's team, and when they was in Arkansas, and
okay.
we all seen the same lights, but that could be something totally different. But I mean, you would have to be awful, without being too derogatory, you'd have to be awful ignorant not to think that there's a correlation in between the two. Now, like I said, I have seen a lot of supernatural stuff happening. And but when it comes to the Sasquatch side of it, I have never personally, it's always been physical. Now, I have tracked Sasquatch and their tracks just disappear and stuff like that. But like I said, I would be the last one to say that it's not. What I'm going to say is, with our research and our team, is we are observing everything and analyzing everything and logging everything correctly. If we don't have a supernatural aspect of a certain Sasquatch encounter, we put it over here. And then when we have the spiritual and the more, like you're saying, for lack of better terms, everybody likes to say the woo thing, we put it over here and we categorize. But I've heard too many times and know too many people that I trust, you two, Nick, Jeremiah, Jeremiah, you've even had more of you and Stacy have had the more of the spiritual aspect with them.
Yes, absolutely.
I've personally not had that, but I'm not going to throw it out there. But as of on the frequencies and stuff, everything on this planet has a frequency. And the thing for me is, having my dog companion with me, he has a whole different set of, how would we say, receptors to this, where my mind is clogged with, carnal things of paying the bills and cell phones and stuff like that. He is 100% natural. So working with these animals like I do, they almost seem supernatural. But I swear to you on as day is long that dog can sense things, vibrations in the land. He can sense things better than I can because he's more in tune. And that would just come from saying that even the First Nations people were more in tune with their environment. Since I've started this grounded movement, Jeremiah, running around barefooted 90% of the time, my life has changed. 90% turnaround of my spiritualism. I feel things, happening around me because of the but sorry, I was reading. But dang, I totally lost my train of thoughts. With going around being in the grounded movement, it has totally changed my aspect of things. I'm seeing things a lot more now and feeling things a lot more. I'd have to say that just being around the animals like I am, there's times that I seriously think that my dog is supernatural. So these things would definitely, if they're generations upon generations of moving around this planet at the level that they do, they have to. I mean, how do you explain no physical evidence? And I
Yeah,
know we was going to talk about the other subject, but it comes right into this. How do
it
we
does.
physically explain them being able to manipulate an electrical field in equipment? How do we physically explain 1,000-pound or bigger Sasquatch being able to just fade its tracks in
Yeah,
grass and sand? How do we explain Nick, you get a lot of reports of a 800-pound dogman climbing through trees like a ring-tailed monkey or a lemur, and there's no, through smaller trees. So there's got to be something behind this. Now here's the whole point: if we can figure out scientifically with the right equipment how to maybe using certain equipment to find these anomalies, I honestly think that we'd be able to get more evidence of these things.
Yeah, I believe he's right, because after
Yeah.
all, you've got a 1,000-pound squatch going up a tree, a 650, 700-pound dogman going up a tree like a tiny monkey. And how is this? I guess their body frequencies, maybe they're able to change the density. There's
Very
a
well.
question right there.
Good point.
I mean, because if their frequency level, if they're vibrating at something differently, that's going to make them lighter and more agile. And they are lightning fast. After all,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they're a lot faster than, I mean, how many reports, Jay, have you and I taken on Squatch and Dogman, and the speed? I mean, to be able to stay up with a car at 50 miles an hour, that's pretty fast.
Yeah,
Well,
Chance, you know all about that, buddy.
but in saying that, though, if you think about it, the average 6 foot tall man can run 25 to 30 mile an hour. If you multiply that biophysically to something that's 10 feet tall and that has far greater muscle stature than we do, it's not that out there. And you think of a dog man. My dog has been clocked at 42 mile an hour.
That's fast.
Wow.
Now you take something, and he's what, 2.5 feet tall and 70 pounds. And you take something that's taken so much longer strides, even on all fours, 50, 60 mile an hour for a something is not too outlandish. I think they can do more than that.
Yeah, you're probably right. But the thing is, and I've said this on many a show, a grizzly bear being, 1,200 pounds, look at all the muscle. Look at the power that they have. Now, a scientific fact, because they've got this measured and proven, a grizzly can go from 0 to 50 in 3 seconds.
Absolutely.
Now, why is that? Well, because first of all, he doesn't vibrate at a different, speed than we do. But the thing is, he's got so much muscle power that it's just phenomenal. I mean, he doesn't have a predator out there, a grizzly bear. There is no predator for a grizz, right? Now, if you combine for a dogman or a Sasquatch, the fact that they've got a lot of muscle power, and combine that with their possibly able to control the frequency which their body vibrates at, well, geez, now you've got a winning combination. I mean, the density is now changed from on Earth 650 pounds to 50 pounds.
Absolutely.
And they're going right up that tree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that would also explain too, of people that I've read reports that are fairly well versed with firearms and putting bullets into these, and they just shake it off like nothing happened. I mean, I'm not going to get into that side of things, this side, but one guy, especially here in Oklahoma, that I know personally, and I don't think he was BS, and he said he put about 16 5.56 rounds in this thing at about 50 yards, and he just turned around and looked at him and turned around and started walking away. That would explain a lot of that also.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at the bone density, you're looking at
if they could change their frequency, they could literally just absorb it and walk off.
They can increase their bone density and their skin, their body density.
Yeah. And
when that projectile's coming in, increase that density to the density beyond what granite is, and for instance, and suddenly it's just, whoop, just bouncing off.
I'm glad you mentioned granite, Nick, because that brought up. I've been doing a little bit of research about this,
Mhm.
and would you? I don't know how to rephrase that. Let's just say it this way. I have noticed that a lot more of the supernatural side of things with reports happen along ley lines or along high silica based.
Definitely, yes.
Look at Mount Shasta. Look at the Appalachian Mountains with the granite base and the
Now, why?
silica
Come
base.
on, Gary. Why?
Because
What?
of the frequency of, because it's one
Right.
of the
The
biggest
energy.
silicas. Yeah.
The energy has been measured on the ley lines, and the energy on those ley lines has been measured to be more than some place where the ley lines are not.
Right.
Absolutely.
So there you go, Gary. That's a perfect example right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that would also explain, like, I know everybody's seen the map of the sightings compared to cave systems and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And you know, where there's cave, you have to have that substructure to hold up the cave, which is granite, silica based materials.
Mm-hmm.
Quartzite. And of course, everybody knows quartzite and silica is one of the best transistors.
That's a great transistor, right? That's
Yeah.
what they use.
Yeah.
I mean, way back when we were little people, we used to have quartz radios,
Yeah.
You
Well,
would turn that handle and you get the electricity going and everything, and it would actually do
even
something.
Look at like Rolex watches, they're still using quartz for
Quartz
their
movements.
Yeah.
It's still the best thing to use out there. So here we go. We're back to square one again. The Squatch and the Dogman and other cryptids, they're vibrating at a different frequency. Why are the ley lines there? That's another question. And if they are seen where the ley lines are, maybe that's enhancing whatever they've got already. Or maybe that's where their portals are. There's a question. There's one for you.
Very well.
That's where the portals are. And you're right. The cave systems, by God, you put that over where the sightings are, they're exact. They're exact.
Yeah.
It's just and what's in caves, guys? What is in caves? You got minerals, you got quartz, you've got nickel in there. I mean, it's like Skinwalker Ranch. They're wondering why, when they're in certain areas that they start to feel woozy. Well, because there's nickel under the ground in those certain areas.
Yep.
That's what the whole deal is. And nickel is magnetic. It's magnetic, and it's shooting out those magnetic rays, and that's not good for a human. It's now for an animal, it's a whole different story. They could survive that where we can't. I mean, look at I don't know if you guys read about the animals of Chernobyl.
Yes.
Chernobyl has dogs and wolves and other animals over there that have survived. They've actually thrived in that environment. In Chernobyl, we're talking about radiation that to this day would kill any of us, guys. Kill Chance, Gary. I don't know about Jay, but it would get me. I mean, you survived all that stuff. So, getting hit by the infrasound and the mind speak and all that other.
That's a whole other subject in itself right there.
Yeah. My God. So that's not something you want. But, there's just so much out there that you can talk about, and you could probably get a round table going for about 3 months at least, as long as the coffee lasted and the sandwiches kept coming. We could throw all that stuff out there, because really, the radiation, what is that creating? Is it possible it's going to create a hybrid of some sort, some kind of a hybrid animal? I mean, during my research for the day for the Quad Coalition of Sciences, I didn't publish it in there, but I was looking at this one film of this fish with arms that had this funny looking, it was white, it was an albino color, but it had a funny looking face, and it came over and it looked like it was, conversing with the guy, the fisherman who was on the land over there. It was like, yeah, what's going on, man? You got any worms? I mean, the thing went over on its side and it's looking at him, and it didn't look like a regular fish. This thing had freaking arms underneath there and stuff, and a couple of fins here and there. There's oddities out there all over this world, and we don't know why. Did it come from this dimension, or is it just here and they're getting screwed up with their DNA?
Right.
It really is something.
Yeah, it definitely is. And back to the ley lines a second. Then you and I did some checking up on ley lines a while back. God, it must have been a year ago now. And they run. We have ley lines running through here, and didn't they run all the way down to you? One of them.
Are you talking to me or Gary?
I'm talking to you.
We had some that ran from where you are, and then it spiked out to the west. And I think it hit northern New Jersey. I'm in central Jersey. It hit northern New Jersey. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, with all the activity in those areas, that definitely plays into part. I believe.
The one thing that I was discussing with a friend of mine a while back about the whole ley line thing, and you know, we are going through a polar shift and a magnetic polar shift.
Yeah.
And that could affect it too, but that would also, they're saying for like the last 300 years that we're, with all the magnetic changes from us pulling ore out of one area and putting ore in somewhere else, and our power grids would change these ley lines and change that frequency, and the satellites could even do it. I'm wondering if that, because it seems like we're having a influx of sightings and influx of things.
Yeah.
I wonder if that could be maybe making that, for lack of better terms, that veil in between the two, you know, making we can see even better now.
Yeah, that's a good point, Gary. That's a good point.
I know this has nothing to do with our topic, but something I was researching today, a missing YouTuber from way back when, Kenny Veach. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, Kenny Veach. Yeah. He was he was in Nevada, and he would go out alone searching all kinds of caves and any anomalies and in lost cities and everything. He went missing in November. Oh God, let's see. What does it say here? I'm trying to get a date on here. November 2005, is it? Oh yeah, here it goes. I'm sorry. November 2014, he went missing in M Cave. They call it M Caves, and they weren't able to find it. And I guess they finally found his body in December of 2014. He was one of those guys that went out there searching the cave units and everything. He didn't go into this one specific cage back then because he said he didn't have anything to defend himself with. So months later, he went back out, found the cave evidently, and he had a 9mm with him. And I'd really like to read the whole story on that someday. It's sketchy. I think the family's keeping it private, but I mention it because the cave system that he's talking about that's in Nevada. There's ley lines the ley lines were actually coming to a point over there. You know how you have many ley lines intersect?
Yeah.
At one point. Well, that's the area that he was in out west. The ley lines were intersecting there, and then it would go straight up to Washington State, you know, from there. So it's just it's really odd. Some of this stuff is really odd.
You bring up a real good point, Nick. You know, missing 411 aside. Let's leave that aside. But if you take, you know, Nick being in the law enforcement like he is, and me being in like we are, you know, we deal with this stuff on a regular basis. So there is a certain amount of information gathering there. But if you take these maps that they show of missing peoples laid over the same map of Sasquatch and cryptid sightings, laid over the same map of the caves, it is uncanny. You know, one of the most famous ones is Mount Shasta, California.
Shasta, yes. Oh yeah, I was going to mention that.
Cave systems. There's all kinds of ancient legends. There's all kinds of missing peoples happening there. You've got Mount Shasta. You've got Yellowstone. Here in Oklahoma, you got over in eastern Oklahoma in the Wichitas, where we have a lot of caves and a lot of silica. There's got to be something to this. Whether we needle it down to one thing or a variable of things, there's got to be something to this. But the weirdest story that I've heard stories that I've heard is people walking in a group and they turn around and the person behind them is gone.
Gone. Yeah.
I'm sorry, unless you're just really not paying attention, somebody 5 feet behind you, they're going to make some kind of sound. Until I seen this video, I don't know if it was real or not, but it showed this deer in a trail and at night and a brown flash and it just disappeared. And then I got to thinking, if these daggum cryptids can run at 50 mile an hour and are 7-8 feet tall, they can come flying through, grab you, snap you, snatch you, and gone, and you won't make a noise. I mean, my
No.
dog hits me at 38 mile an hour at 65 pounds. He knocks me about 4 or 5 foot. But I have to wonder too, though, what is the motive? Why
Right.
would these things want, if a cryptid is actually doing it, why would these cryptids want to consume us? That we don't know. But the biggest thing for me is when my wife being from Mount Shasta and stuff, I think a lot of times we try to put it on the cryptid side of things when it could be a actual dimensional portal thing where
Right.
people are. I mean, how I can't even talk. How else do you explain somebody just showing up days later in an area that they've already searched in?
Mm-hmm.
They don't remember nothing, and they're scratched up and stuff. But there's got to be something to it. I don't know, but it all matches. And like I said, leaving the author aside, if you do independent research, it shows ley lines, the cave systems, and the sightings and the missing people all throw together.
Well, I'll tell you, I have a bunch of friends of mine in Australia, and one of the guys over there came and told me about something that happened with this boater. This guy was an avid fisherman. He was in a river that was used by a lot of people. He cast his line out and he was just drifting. The river was wide enough that he could just drift. There was no other boats around. And he went from the area where he was at, where he knew he wasn't going to go too far past it. He went missing for 12 hours. He wound up
Lost time, you mean, or just went plain thing?
totally lost real time.
Okay.
And 12 hours later, he shows up near one of the cities. There was a bridge, and in one of the cities over there in Australia where you have normal boat traffic. And he's like, there's no way I could have gotten here.
Right.
Australia is a giant country. I mean, the guy was, literally hundreds and hundreds of miles away from where he started originally. So what's with that? I mean, to me, it screams portal if it screams anything.
Absolutely.
Now, what Gary was saying, just one more thing, Gary.
Yeah.
Gary was saying about people, being near each other, they're out in the woods and the person disappears. They're only a few feet. Well, Washington State, here's a good one. A father and a son and the son's 3 uncles, the father's 3 brothers, they went hunting. All right. The 3 brothers were lagging a little bit behind. The father and the son are standing next to each other. The father says something to the son. Son's, replies to him. Then he replies to him again. And it was a question. He didn't answer him. He turned around. The son wasn't there. The 3 uncles came up. They started a search. They called in for search and rescue. They had 3 helicopters. They had over 100 people out there with dogs and everything. This kid was never found. What's up with that now? Did he go through a portal? Did he get snatched and then go through? I mean, the kid had he had 2 firearms on his hip. He had a 44 mag, and in his hand, he had a shotgun.
And there wasn't a 10-foot of difference in between.
No,
Right.
Gary, not even 10 foot.
Yeah,
This was right next to his dad.
Yeah.
Right next to him. The 2 of them are looking forward and they're commenting on something. And the dad replied to him with a question. And he's like, well, aren't you going to answer? And he looks, he's gone. He is gone. What the heck happened there? I mean, strange things, guys.
Too. All over the planet, Australia, Nepal, Africa, the Orient. It's not just one area. We can't narrow it down to just the North American continent because Australia is known for the Aborigines talk about it in their teachings and stuff.
Yeah.
So here's my question: is it a natural phenomena, Or is it, I mean, how do we define natural and paranormal? Is it a natural phenomenon that's been happening on this planet the whole time? We're just not figuring out what it is. Or
Right.
is it something from an outside source coming in? I lean towards that it's a natural phenomenon. I think it's
Me too.
part of the earth, because I just don't see how all these people over all these generations would be talking about the same stuff all over the planet,
All over.
be isolated to like an alien or a paranormal thing, because they all say the same thing but in a different language. I think it's a natural.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to agree with you on that. It's a natural phenomenon, but I want to take it a step further. I think it might be a natural phenomenon in this universe that we're in.
Gotcha.
Not just on the earth, because there are 11 other dimensions out there.
Yeah.
So it's not just the earth, it's the universe. I mean, it could happen on Saturn, Mars, or wherever. But these things are happening. And you're right, Gary. You're absolutely right. I mean, I've been doing this research for a long time. And I've come up against where people are there 1 second and the next second they're gone.
Yeah.
I make a little note of it in the notebook and just move on, because I'm basically doing cryptids for the most part. But, it's strange. It really is strange.
Yeah.
So in saying that, Dogman, Sasquatch, Rakes,
Mothman,
that's the one that really intrigues me, because there's so few of visages of reports,
sightings. Well, you remember something now. I'm just going to bring this up real quick. He was seen. There's a photograph of him seen before 9/11 in the sky near the World Trade Centers. Chernobyl before that happened. In Japan before the tsunami, just to name a few.
Sorrow.
In India before their earthquake they had over there. I mean, he's the harbinger of doom. Yeah, he's like saying, "Hey, I'm here, so shit's gonna happen."
Well,
do you think it's a warning, Nick, or do you think he's helping assist make these things happen?
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm gonna go to the dark side on it. I think he's assisting. I think he's there. It's coming. He's like the the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and they've got their forebearer, the guy that comes before them, saying, "He's coming. Get ready."
It's funny you say that, because we're talking about different dimensions and everything else. If you break down, I know I'm going to probably open up a whole nother rat's nest over here, but through ancient tomes and ancient languages and interpretations of people, and all the way through even to the religious side of things, they try to explain this. And I love how you said it in the beginning of the show, everything is linked, or is everything linked? I really believe that we as humans have been experiencing this from early times, and this is where we get a lot of our religious. Now, when I say it, everybody knows I'm a Christian Buddhist, and I'm not going to knock I'm not atheist. I believe. But I think that a lot of the stuff that we are interpreting as religious encounters, that's the same thing that this is. Because if you read the Bible, you hear a lot of things of coming from the heavens and stuff like this. So how do we interpret this? So in saying that, I like the idea of how Nick says that it's natural, but yet it's multidimensional. So in saying that, where does Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Mothman fall into this? Are they multidimensional beings that can move back and forth? What's y'all's thoughts on that? Or are they? Or
I think so.
Okay,
I really do. Just because of the things I've experienced, over the years, over the last 10 years, to be specific. I've got a picture. There's a guy sent me big snow field, no trees around, nothing, and there's one track, massive Sasquatch track, and this field is in the middle of nowhere. How did that track get to the middle of the field, and where are the rest of them? That's just an example.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, it's like what I call, I'm going to be repetitive, where the footprint
okay.
ends, where the footprint ends. Now, you know, I was with the team. We had about 30 footprints, right? Just like Jay had, right into the middle of the field, no trees, no nothing. And the footprint that was it. 200 feet in front, big old field, nothing. Left, right, nothing. Where did he go? Did he vibrate? Did the frequency vibrate? Or I don't want to ever leave this out, guys, because we see it all the time. Like people have drawings of it and pictures of it, of a spacecraft beaming somebody up into the craft. Were they beamed up? You know, because they just disappear. It's either portal, beam up, or the vibrating frequency suddenly makes their density such that they don't leave a mark on the ground.
I mean, you can even take it to the religious side of things, you know.
Yeah.
A lot. I can't even think of it. Was taken on a chariot of fire into the heavens. It was Abraham, I think it was.
Enoch,
right? Yeah, or
right.
one of them. Well, Enoch was too, but there was also, I think it was Abraham or somebody. But in saying that, I'm still, the reason I keep asking this question is because I'm still dealing with, where do we file this? You know, is a spaceship, is it an extraterrestrial in space, or is it a multidimensional, or is it both? Is a Bigfoot an alien? Is he you know, I sometimes question, if you look at biologic, you know, of how would we say, coming down through genealogy, down through evolution, we are the freaks of nature. Everything else on this planet is connected better than we are. We just kind of popped out of the blue.
Oh yeah.
And where does this all fall in to the order of things when it comes to how we interact with these? Do we treat a Sasquatch or a Dogman as a multidimensional intelligent being and try to speak with it in a human tone, or maybe mind speak with it? Or do we treat it as a biological ape or dog and track it? I mean, where do we fall in? Or do we put it in multiple facets, use each report as strictly from a researcher standpoint? You know, Nick, you file your stuff a certain way and I'll file mine, but I'm finding that I'm having to separate out certain stories because they don't make, there's no category.
Some of them go in both files or 3 files.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But Gary, you just threw a monkey wrench into all this, because now you brought up religion. And, you know, chariots of fire, that's one. But look at in the Bible, Jesus Christ, he walked on water.
Yeah.
Okay. Did he change his frequency or density? And he's walking on the water now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Walking through walls.
Now you're adding another thing into this whole mishmash that we're trying to solve here. And Jay, we got some more crap to think about now, right?
Let me throw even something else at you. That we need Stacy in here for this. Astral projection. I 100% believe it. I believe it can happen. You know, you know, that whole frequency thing. But here's my problem though. If we can astral project, if we can get to a point, I've got to be very careful how I say this because I'll offend a lot of people. A lot of people say they mind speak with these beings.
Yeah.
Well, if you're mind speaking with them, get us some freaking answers. Don't treat it like a religious thing. Oh, I know, and you're gonna have to follow me. Ask them the damn questions and get us some answers and get us some evidence so we can be followed along. Because if these things mind speak, they have a story to tell. Quit eluding to it, get to the basics of it, and tell us what they're saying so we can all come across, all be enlightened. And we can, as researchers, we can start answering some of these questions.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Jay, you and I were talking about this earlier this week, and Gary just brought it up. We humans versus animals and all the other things out there, we're the freaks. We're the odd man out. What did you and I discover? You and I discovered that in the double helix, which is genomes, you know, our DNA, what we're made up of. If you compare our DNA with the DNA of a dog, of a chimpanzee, a gorilla, an elephant, guess what, guys? We don't have more we have less.
Yes.
Our DNAs have less. That's what separates us from them. It's the having less, making us on the higher plane as far as intelligence goes. But as far as other things goes, like say the sense of smell, I mean, my God, a bear has 240 times the sense of smell as a human. So he's got something in the DNA trap over there. But just by having those things missing in that double helix, just those DNA pieces being missing sets us apart from them. Now throw in cryptids and they've got things that are missing that are putting them apart from us and animals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just, wow, guys, there's just so much to think of.
Yeah.
There is. There really is.
Woof.
So I want to come back to the beginning of this where we was talking about Dogman and Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And frequency and changing frequencies. What are y'all's thoughts on the whole blurry picture thing?
Oh, there it is, right there, right there. They're emitting an energy, or they're vibrating at a frequency, and that's what's actually blurring this out. It's not that they're going so super fast, because I've got pictures a buddy of mine took when he took pictures of a jaguar running.
Yeah.
You know, and this thing's moving.
We've got the technology now. She was catching bullets in flight, you know.
Right. So somehow they're vibrating, or they're emitting a power surge of some sort, and we're just not able to capture it. Our film is not able to capture it. Even though it's digital now, it's still not able to capture it.
Right.
Well, in saying that, then how did, and I'm just saying, how did Robert,
Patty?
Yeah.
Patty. Oh, you know what? They got to stop and be able to grab something, right? You know, she had to stop and to be able to grab, say, a bunny rabbit, to take it home to eat. So she was just strolling through the woods. She was not vibrating at that frequency.
Maybe she chose not to.
Right there.
Like,
there it is. Choice. What do you think?
Like what
Jay?
I said earlier, when they're here, maybe they can abide by our rules. Nick, maybe she had to stop and grab a bunny rabbit, and they caught her at the right time.
Yeah. I mean, because you could actually see things on her. I mean, she is slightly blurry, but you could see that she does have breasts. You could see that she had a little pouch. She had a pouch of some sort that was made, and it was strung from the side of her body, you know, by her hip area. So, I mean, you could see certain things. I mean, when you blow it up, and I mean, that film has been studied by people from Russia, all over the world for years and years and years.
All over.
You know, all over. And you know what? I believe that was the first and the best one. I don't believe that some guy was dressed in a costume, because the walk, you can't replicate that walk. And back then you can't even make that same costume today. I'm sorry. It still looks fake. It looks fake today. I've seen so many. Hey guys, I get reports out my nose every week, and people send me pictures and films and this and that. And I was told that, this is a real Sasquatch. I'm looking at it like, no, can't you see the guy's elbow over there sticking out? I mean, they had a hole in the suit, right? It looked good. But he had a friggin' hole in the suit. And when you seen the guy walking, it was like some schmo down in down the street, just walking around after he got a drunk on. You know, it was like, come on, people, you can't replicate that walk. You know, so to me, I think Patty was one of the greatest finds if we ever had. One of the other greatest finds I think we ever had was a Yeti hand that one of the movie stars helped smuggle into the United States from up in Tibet.
James, the famous old Western actor, James, that played Shane.
No, I think it was somebody. It was somebody else.
It wasn't Alan Ladd?
Not Alan Ladd. Shane.
No, neither of those guys. Neither of those guys.
I got Google.
No, Google it up. See who took it.
It's James something. I think it's James Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart. There you go. That's it. You don't even have to look it up.
Yeah, it's Jimmy.
That's
Stewart.
Who did it. Yeah, Stewart did it.
He was involved because they smuggled it in his wife's underwear. That's how they got it in, because in those years they wouldn't search. You know, they had more
Unbelievable.
respect. Yeah.
Unbelievable, guys. You know, taking something from those monks, that wasn't right.
You know, Nick, you bringing up a very good point though of the Yeti and the of that area. You know, it's so hard to get in there now because it's controlled by China. Tibet is, but there's still reports coming out of there. But those, you know, the Buddhists of that area, the Nepalese and the Tibetans, they acknowledge that the Yeti is a multidimensional creature, and they acknowledge that it's a spiritual being. Why can't it be both? You know, that's what they say. They're like, it can walk on the earth, it can walk in the spirit world. The Native Americans say the same.
That's my belief, Gary.
And Jay, when you start doing that study that you're going to be taking up, you'll see what I'm going to be saying right now. You got to understand the Yeti, and Gary, I think, is really hit on something here. The Yeti must be interdimensional, because where the Yeti was seen, it is so cold.
Yes.
No vegetables grow there. There are no other animals up there for it to eat. It would have to come all the way down to get something to eat. Something that big and huge, the energy expenditure it would take to go down, down the mountain to go get something and then go back up and live in that freezing cold.
The lack of oxygen alone.
Lack of that too. I mean, all living beings, breathing beings need that, and evidently it breathes.
I mean, look at what happens to our people when we go to Mount Everest. We have to wear oxygen or we'll die.
Right.
If it bends. And this thing is known to go up and down all the time.
Like nothing. So it must be, to me anyway. Everybody else can think what they want to think, but it must be interdimensional of some sort. Well, it's got to go someplace else to get its food and then come back and, hang out with the monks or whatever it's doing up there, because wow, that is something.
Here's the deal. If it is, it sure answers a lot of questions I've had for 25 years.
Sure does. Yeah. Now all we got to do is find that portal.
Yeah. Well, I will volunteer that I'm not going to be the first one through that portal.
No. Well, the four of us will go there. We'll push Chance through there.
We'll tie a rope to Chance. We'll tie a rope to your waist, and you can walk through first. Does that sound good?
If you think about it, guys,
I'm ready.
If we get solid proof that this thing is multidimensional, do you know how many questions and how many debates it's going to answer just like that? And
then they'll be looking for the portals and how to cross those dimensions.
Yeah. Well, and we've even got physicists, we've got astrophysicists and biomechanical physicists that are all agreeing that there are portals. I mean, Lord, we're studying black holes and wormholes in space. And here's my whole thing. We have such a grand scientific community that is literally talking about everything that we're talking about in different areas and different genres. Why not here? Why can't we use this same scientific analysis and energy here? Right. It's like the cryptid community doesn't want to acknowledge that science exists because it takes their thunder. And I'm sorry, them scientists are a hell of a lot smarter than us. And I look forward to one of these days. And I used to say, I look forward to somebody actually getting a body. But I don't think we need to do that. I think that if they just open their mind up and use a little bit of more scientific method, that one of these days we're going to crack this thing wide open.
I hope so.
Unless some of Nick's black choppers that we seen over in Arkansas and Oklahoma decide to shut the thing down. That was weird.
Come on now. They had stealth technology on those. Those are Black Hawks, by the way.
I recognized them, but like I said, I couldn't believe that his guys were seeing the same chopper as we was.
By the way, Gary, the choppers that the SEALs used, DevGru, they used to get Bin Laden and one of them that crashed.
Yeah,
that was a special Black Hawk with stealth technology.
That's the reason they
on it. However, they really didn't want to use those choppers because they were very hard, not just very, super hard to fly. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
And that's probably the reason why that one did crash.
Well,
because they were so damn hard.
Story on that is when he came in, he clipped the back rudder on the
on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they scuttled it. They pulled everybody out of that, and they put enough charges on that thing to leave nothing behind.
Yeah. They were like, oh shit,
So,
we can't leave this here.
I'm gonna throw one more at you since we're discussing it. Now, if the First Nations people and all the ancient peoples have been talking about, this, and if we've all been doing this long enough, it's chance, especially you, if I remember right, you're right up there in the middle of the First Nations. They've pretty much got this down pat, because you hear a lot of First Nations people talk about these things that are walk both worlds. So here's the question: why, as a sociological thing, as us as researchers, why can't we acknowledge that? Why do we have to put our own stupid spin on it when for thousands of years the First Nations people from all over the world have said this? Why do we have to say it's a government conspiracy? Why do we have to say that it's an alien? Why do we have to even acknowledge it when the First Nations people are saying that?
Because that's the way society has become. I'm with you on that, Gary. The First Nations are right, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And by the way,
people of the world have it right.
And by the way, the part of the section of physics, the quantum physics people out there, they came up with the string theory and the fact that the strings that are smaller than atoms or electrons, I mean, they're particles that vibrate at a certain frequency. And that's how they went and discovered these new particles that are out there. I mean, guys, it's just phenomenal. I mean, this could go on for days and days and months of discussion into, what's where, how did this get there, and how did it disappear? But I think we're kind of onto something, with the vibrations, the ley lines, the fact that they may just decide that, okay, we can be here in our full physical form and then go through this portal when we don't want to be here and we're going over there. Just because there has to be a reason why a Yeti can last all the way up there in the Himalayas, where it's super duper freezing cold every day of the year. So there's just so much to think about and so much to discuss.
On what you just said, Nick, with me being Buddhist, I've trained a lot of that stuff. We have documented footage of Tibetan monks sitting up there at that high elevation. Sitting up there, proven, and their body temperature drops to 70 degrees, and they survive it. We also have no explanation of, what is the word I'm looking for? You can't deny it that Tibetan genetics is traced all the way back to Neanderthal, and that they do have a better oxygen intake and a better tolerance to cold. So once again, you're not only talking about the the energy side of it, you're talking about the natural side of it. So here's my question. If
for them not to be freezing up there, they're controlling that energy.
Absolutely.
They're putting that aura, if you want to call it an aura, they're putting out that aura so that they're not going, freezing in there, without their socks on.
We have legitimate proof that this can be done, just not at the masterful level that we're trying to say that it's done by the Sasquatch, that humans are doing it. We also have genetic proof that the Tibetan people and that genome has been traced all the way back to Neanderthal. So we're literally proving our own theories through science, but yet people want to try to deny it and say that it's something else.
There's certain things you can't deny, especially when the science has proven it out there and shown everybody. I mean, people say seeing is believing. Well, these scientists, these quantum physicists, they have proven it, and just what you said, same thing. Just one quickie thing here. I forgot the name of the science program, but they would try to show the impossible. And what they did was they got this fellow who happened to be a Navy SEAL, and they immersed him in water, I believe that was 30 degrees below zero.
Yep.
And he stayed in there for an hour and they're monitoring him, and he's fine. He's fine. What the heck? What the heck was he? What was he using? What was he doing? He was on film. We could see him. All he had was on a bathing suit.
Yep.
He didn't have any heaters on his body. That water was 30 degrees below zero. You're dead. You're dead at that point. But he wasn't. And he came out and he was fine. Something up here controlled it.
Absolutely.
Right.
More questions, guys.
With that, Nick?
It's more questions. That's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Jay, how we doing on time, bro?
We are actually running a few minutes over, 15 minutes over. So
Okay.
I tell you what, we're going to pick this up the week after next. Because we could go on, go on and on with this. And I think we're getting somewhere with it. And next show, I think we should pick this up.
A lot of good things came out of this one, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Gary, for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Sorry, I'm a brain fart over here. I'm like in La La Land.
Absolutely. Chance, thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chance. Gary, Jay.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, everybody out there, and we'll pick this up. When is this going to be? We're on Sunday night right now, and we'll probably air this on Monday?
No, we're doing this is going to be bi-weekly now. Remember?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're on Wednesday right now, and
we're Wednesday. Yeah.
Well, this will air.
This will air tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Thursday. Okie doke.
All right, guys.
All right, everybody. Have a good one. Be careful.
For a second. God bless everyone. Everyone be good to each other.
Take it easy, fellas.